Okay. We have roughly around 9 colors here, plus a bit of influence on each of the shadow sides. So we could even say that there's almost 15 colors here. Also the gradations between them. And if we turn off the line work, it reads really well. So if you can't get the colors to look and feel good on basic cubes like this with these ratios, and it's going to be very hard to do on very complex forms like faces and armor sets and weapons and props. So get good at the cubes, and then you'll get way better at other things. So why did I mention cyan, magenta, and yellow? So that would be like the complements of these. And the reason I have them cut up into squares is because we're going to alternate them. Now, I'm going to make a new layer for red. What we want to do is find the complement. In this case, it'll be cyan. So if we go to RGB, if red is over here, 255, 0, and 0, cyan, you'll find it at the opposite. So it's going to be 0, 255, 255. And we're just going to lay that in. Okay. And the same process that we did for finding the shadow side plus the hue shift, we'll be doing the same thing on a new layer on each of these. But make sure you still keep the base layer of the red, green, and blue. But you'll see what happens when we start erasing things. We're going to have some nice complementary contrast. And we'll get into things like tertiary color palettes and stuff later on. But this would be a complementary. So, okay. Let's go to HSB. Let's go halfway. That's 50% on the value scale. The hue, let's make it cooler. All right. This time I'm not going to do it mathematically. It's going to eyeball it to be 25% way and slightly cooler. So any given local color, in this case it's cyan, in shadow can shift in hue. And once it does that, it'll have a nice kind of believability to it. And once we got all the values and colors in place in the whole Rubik's Cube thing, what we're going to do is blend it together and sort of render it as a final product, maybe add some shiny gloss onto it or something. So this is on its clipping mask layer, kind of like this. But what we're going to do is grab the eraser and alternate and erase out some of these cubes and treat it sort of like a checkerboard. So you erase out, and we're going to reveal that red layer beneath the cyan. And it just has a really nice, like, fun, believable pop there. And by believable, I mean it has a certain quality that when we see it, we feel like it's something that could exist in a three-dimensional space, even if we're pushing the values and style of it. Okay, let's keep alternating. And we had to make sure that the cyan cube followed the same rules as the red cube in terms of halfway to black on this side and 25% way to black on that, while also shifting the hues accordingly. And this is something that might not make sense as you're doing it, especially for the first time, but it will embed itself into your subconscious as to things you're familiar with. So that when you go to paint your own stuff, you'll kind of pick up on what's working, what's not working. I feel like I might be repeating myself, but hey, that's perfectly fine. A lot of learning is through repetition. All right, now we zoom out. Beautiful. That has a nice kind of almost circus-like quality. And we can go ahead and take that and merge it down. Now we have our first cube. And when you turn the line work off and you zoom out, here's the way to test it. Does it still look three-dimensional? Does it still look like the values are holding up for what they're supposed to be with the hues that they have shifted, right? And it is implying that there's a warm light happening over here and a sort of cooler light happening over here. That color, maybe something like this.